Hi, welcome. Sammy here for our tarot astrology reading. It is a beautiful Friday night, the 27th of November, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Hi, welcome. Someone very special just joined. Thank you for being here. The most special. Hi, Amanda. So welcome everyone. Tonight we will talk about some exciting things coming up in the sky, especially around the full moon coming 3 days from now in Gemini. But before we talk more about that and do our tarot reading, let's start by quieting our minds and our voices, taking some deep breaths and tuning in with our bodies. Got a little surprise one at the end. So when that happens, the bowl just had more to say to us. It's always so good to take those breaths with you. I look forward to it every day. How does it feel for you? I'd love to hear about that. So, let's see. Tonight we are still in our Taurus moon, and I don't know about you, but I love the way a Taurus moon can help me to be in the moment, to find pleasure in work, and to be able to stick to a project. I had the experience just today of having quite a long to-do list, which is not uncommon, but what was uncommon was the way I really felt an ease and pleasure of going from one thing to the next and staying in that chair and doing it, just like a Taurus. Once they get going, it's easy for them to keep going, and not only that, but to enjoy simple sensual pleasures, a walk, some nicely textured food, things like that. So it's been a great Taurus moon. I hope you've been having a good Taurus moon. And we will continue having this Taurus moon tomorrow, Saturday. And what's kind of nice is that right now we have one trine. We have the trine between Neptune and Mercury. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Neptune and Mercury before I go on to tell you what's going to happen on Saturday, tomorrow, or later today if you're watching this on Saturday morning. So I think the planets are so fascinating. It's kind of like our immediate family members, you know, like we might be curious about like our parents or siblings, how they really work, what makes them special, the things we love about them, the things that are challenging about them. And that's like our planets and our solar system are like our family, and we affect each other, our gravitational pulls, and we're all so connected. So I think it's really fun to keep learning about them. And when I was noticing that Neptune and Mercury were the primary trine happening today, I was like, okay, I know what I always say about Neptune and about how it represents dreaminess, named after the water, the god of the water, Triton, the Greek god, and how it helps us tap into our intuition and dreams. And I know that Mercury is about communication and quickness and adaptability, but I was like, I want to know more about the actual planets. And so I did a little bit of research and reminded me of how much more there is to do and how fun it is. But Neptune's very interesting. Neptune, it takes hundreds of years to make a full revolution around the sun. And Neptune has a nice blue color because of methane in its what's it called, atmosphere. And did you know that Neptune has rings? Just like Saturn, they might not be as big and defined as Saturn, but Neptune definitely has rings, and Neptune has 14 moons. Isn't that amazing? We have one and Neptune has 14. And I was thinking, it's interesting because Neptune is so dreamy, and the moon is, for us, our moon, Earth's one moon, is what we often associate with dreams and the unconscious and the emotions. And Neptune, the planet of dreaminess and the god of the sea, has 14. So if we're as dreamy as we are with one moon, imagine having 14 of those things going around you day and night. 14 moons. Must be so beautiful. Maybe one day we'll get to see it. I don't know. Anything could happen, right? And then as for Mercury, Mercury is the planet closest to the sun. And Mercury, well, the god Mercury in the stories is known for being a messenger and being really fast and being able to change forms. And the planet Mercury is very fast and very changing. And the way Mercury revolves around the sun, the temperature, I don't know about you guys, but do you ever check the weather and you see like, oh, the high is going to be 78, but the low is going to be 59, well, if you are on Mercury, sometimes you might see that the low was going to be 280 degrees below zero, negative 280 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty cold. And the high, any guesses? What do you think the high is? Anyone in this chat feel like taking a poke at it? If Mercury goes down to negative 280 degrees, freezing at night, how warm do you think it gets during the day in degrees Fahrenheit? I'll give you another second to think about that one, to take a guess. Well, I tell you a little bit more about Mercury, which is that Mercury rotates in a very consistent and interconnected way on its axis with the sun, so that the way it's turning, it takes a few days. It takes like two Mercury years, and each Mercury year is about 90 Earth days. So if it takes the Earth 365 days to go around the sun, it takes... Hi Tracy, welcome! So good to have you here. I'm talking a bit about the planet Mercury right now, and I posed a question if you want to take a guess at it. Mercury, so we're talking about how Mercury represents adaptability and change and swiftness. And here on Earth, we look at the high and low temperatures every day, and it might be a high of, let's say, 78 degrees, which would be yummy, and then a low of maybe 59 degrees, which might be a little chilly depending on how spoiled you are by the Florida weather. And on Mercury, at night, it could go down to, say, negative 280 degrees Fahrenheit. Very cold. So I was going to say, if you wanted to guess, how warm do you think it might go up to? If it goes down to 280 negative, how warm do you think it might get at the high? So love to see any guesses that anyone has. So Mercury it takes Earth 365 days to go around the sun. It takes Mercury about 90 think it is 90 Earth days, well, to us, to go around the sun. So a year is a pretty short year. And the way that Mercury rotates on its axis, 250 degrees Fahrenheit is your guess. That's a good guess. Let's see if we have any other guesses. The way it rotates is kind of locked into this, what's the word? Locked into a sort of dance with the sun, so that the way it turns, it doesn't have, it only has a few days. It has many fewer days per year than we do, because it's not like it spins all the way around every day. For us, it spins along with the sun, so the same point, they continue to face each other in the same way. I've got to get a better way to explain that, but it's very interesting to me. And okay, I'm going to tell you now. Ready? So negative 280 degrees Fahrenheit at night, and it goes up to 800 degrees Fahrenheit during the day. That is a very big temperature change. Can you imagine? You'd really need a lot of layers if you were going to be over there in Mercury. So part of the reason I wanted to talk a little bit more in depth about Mercury, it is in trine with Neptune, but also Mercury rules Gemini. And in 3 days, on November 30th, we have a full moon in Gemini. You weren't too far off. I mean, I think you still made a nice dramatic guess. I thought that was great. So we have our full moon, and that is on November 30th, 4:30 in the morning, Eastern time, is the mid moment of the full moon. But this full moon, it's going to appear full for 3 days because of the angles and everything. So we're going to have 3-day celebration of the full moon. And not only that, but it's an eclipse full moon. And at the height of the eclipse, the Earth is going to be casting a shadow on the moon, 83% of the moon. So most of the moon is going to be in shadow by the Earth. And that is going to happen at 4:44 a.m., which is kind of a magical number. And I think that's really going to flavor what this full moon can mean for us. If you look at the number 4 in magical tradition, and let's say in tarot, what 4 often symbolizes is a sort of steadiness and a foundation. If 1 is like this magical burst of potential, and then 2 is the bringing together of parts and the mixing and the alchemy of union, and then 3 is sort of this introduction to a more diverse environment, maybe a group or a community, or maybe a spirituality. Then 4 is this very steady, grounded place where something has already been achieved and a foundation has been laid for the next level of evolution. So 4 is a very solid, grounded, steady number. And 4 times 4 is 12, and 12 is another very, very magical number for so many reasons. You know, there's 12 zodiac signs, 12 hours on the clock face, and there's other things about 12 that's magical, but 4 and 4 and 4, that's a lot of 4 happening, and that's going to be the time just minutes away from the height of the full moon when the eclipse is happening. And eclipses are very magical times. It just adds emphasis to the full moon. Hi, welcome! Talking about the full moon in Gemini that's happening in 3 days, and how it's very exciting because the full moon in Gemini in the early morning of November 30th, there's also going to be an eclipse. And so that's kind of like this washing clean. Just like imagine if this was the moon at the moment of the full moon, when the moon is the brightest and we can see it completely in all of its glory, that the Earth's shadow sort of just gives it a little caress across its face and then disappears again. It's like this very intimate moment where we see how the sun's light shines onto the moon, and that gives us light. But in that moment, for a few minutes at 4:44 a.m. on November 30th, Eastern Time, we get to see ourselves reflected on the moon. We get to see our own shape, our own body, and our home painted on the sky, on the face of the moon. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, especially because if new moons are all about work and intention and goals and setting to-do lists and visioning for the future, the full moon is a lot more about relaxation and celebration and appreciating what we have and really appreciating all that we've done and all that we've been through and the ways that we have worked on ourselves and the love that we've created and how far we've come in so many ways. So that's what this is about. And since it's in Gemini, Gemini is playful, Gemini is flexible and adaptable and very much interested in connecting with others around us, connecting with laughter and play and curiosity and learning and exploring and touching and feeling and trying things. So the 3 days around the full moon, November 29th, 30th, 31st. Does November have a 31st? No, November just has 30 days. The knuckle trick. Thanks, Mom. So, and then December 1st, December time, all those days are this full moon where we can really see all of the goodness that we've cultivated in ourselves and in our relationships, and appreciate that and enjoy it and share about it and connect about it with others. So it could be a perfect time to have conversations with people about, where they've been and what they've been through and the things they're proud of. So and since the sun is in Sagittarius and the sun and moon are opposite each other, it's the axis of communication and travel and exploration. So it's a good time to ask yourself and others about happy memories of places you've been, things that you've done that you've loved, things you've learned, asking people what they've learned and where they've been, and connecting about that and celebrating and enjoying that. So that is the deal for the upcoming full moon. As for tomorrow, Saturday, November 28th, as the moon progresses further in Taurus, it's going to come into trine with Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto. So we're not only going to have the Neptune-Mercury trine we talked about, which allows us to share our dreams and our intuition, but the moon will help us feel an emotional ease and an intuitive ability to tap into the magic that's brought to us by those three planets, Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto respectively, about being aligned with our fate and growing and transforming. So tomorrow will be a great day for all of those things. There you have that. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if any of that resonated with you, or if you have any more questions, message me anytime. Let's do a tarot reading. Got my beautiful tarot mat here from my beloved, amazing, brilliant, beautiful wife who encourages me so much every day, and is my favorite Gemini. Well, my favorite everything, but she is a Gemini. And a brilliant one. So I have these cards here, the Modern Witch Tarot deck, and I thought for fun tonight I have my Rider-Waite Tarot deck as well. And I thought it would be fun to do a little side-by-side reading with the cards and see how that feels, because I haven't looked at those in a minute. So let's take a breath while we shuffle. And if there's anything that has been weighing on you, you can put it down here and let the cards handle it for you. And if not, let's just see what happens. Smelling a deck is an important part of any tarot reading. They won't tell you that in the books, but really helps you connect with the cards. Get that full sensual experience. You hear them, you feel them, you see them, you smell them. I would taste them, but I think my amazing wife might be on here, and she doesn't like when I like random household objects that are probably very dirty. So we'll save that one for another time. Okay. Ready? Let's spread them. One, two, three, from the first deck, and one, two, three. Let's see what this has to tell us, maybe about the full moon or the trines coming up. So our first card, the Page of Swords. Beautiful. So here we have the suit of air, which is just like Gemini and the new moon. The full moon. And the swords, intellect, ideas. So the page is on the beginning of a journey. So one thing this card might suggest is if you're on some kind of journey that you're just starting out, that is a great place to be, and that thoughts will naturally develop, but every process begins as a beginner. And there's a lot of magic and beauty that happens in that place, a lot of potential that when somebody is more advanced, say a Knight of Swords, or finally the Queen of Swords, they are so masterful that and laser focused that they might not get to see and feel and experience as much curiosity or excitement or intensity of growth as the page. So if there's something that you are still at the beginning of learning or understanding, know that that is a really special moment, and it won't last forever. It's kind of like childhood, but in part of a process. So to enjoy that place of curiosity. Our first card in the Rider-Waite deck, we're going to work inwards. How beautiful. We have the 10 of Cups here. If you can see, there's 10 cups in a rainbow in the sky, And there's a couple standing with their arms around each other with their hearts open, and some children dancing. There's a running stream of clear blue water and a cozy looking home. So it's a card of happiness, of contentment, of fulfillment, home, love, hope, beauty, just splendid togetherness and joy, total emotional fulfillment. So interesting to have these two together, and just notice that a beginning of a thought connected to the finale of emotional fulfillment, kind of like the beginning and end of a story or a process. And at the same time, it might be a reflection of something in your life where you have this, where you have a full emotional cup. Our second card from the Modern Witch deck. How beautiful. We have a Two of Cups here. So you see two witches standing there by the water. There's a lighthouse in the background. And there's a winged lion, and that symbol of two snakes coiling around each other, which represents health and strength and freedom. And we were talking about how it goes from one to, earlier tonight we were talking about the symbology of numbers, and how if one, sort of like the one sword of this page, represents a burst of energy and a new beginning, two comes after, and two is about union and exchange and sharing. And they're exchanging cups and gifts, and cups are emotions, presence, love, heartfeltness. So here we have two people in coming together in friendship and love, sharing with each other. And this also relates to the full moon, because we were talking about how the full moon in Gemini is a lot about connection and sharing with others and celebrating. So I think this is a great idea of a full moon ritual that we could do the November 29th, 30th, December 1st. Sharing our love cup and looking into someone else's heart and learning something about them, and being loving with each other. Our second card for the Rider-Waite deck. I love this card so much. We have the Fool here. Something I learned today is that originally the Fool card was kind of like a wild card that didn't have any number. The Magician's card won, but the Fool is just sort of this mystical trickster. Now the Fool card has a 0, which really isn't that different from having no number, because 0 is a very magical number. It's really a mystical idea. It's nothingness and it's completion. It's everything. It's the universe. It's the beyond the universe and the before the universe. And so we have the Fool, and the Fool represents faith and represents courage and represents open-heartedness and bravery and joy, stepping into the unknown. And that's very much like the Two of Cups, because when we open our heart and share with somebody, we don't really know. We might have ideas, but we don't know what's beyond the cliff edge. But what we do know is, if we sense with our hearts that when we do begin this process of 2 cups, eventually what it leads us to is the emotional fulfillment of 10 cups and that creation of love. And it takes all of that process to get there. It takes the leap into the unknown, only having a little bit of an idea, sharing and connecting, and then we arrive here. Now for our last Modern Witch card, let's turn them both over at the same time. The Modern Witch one and the Rider-Waite. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you guys. Wow, this is amazing. So, for the Rider-Waite, we have the Queen of Swords. And it's very funny because I was just talking about the Queen of Swords when our first card was the Page of Swords. And with the Page of Swords, we were talking about being at the beginning of mastery in terms of an idea. And the Queen of Swords is the master. And if you look at these two cards together, which is really fun since they're from two different decks, the light's very bright. Can you see what's happening? There's a reflection. Okay. You can almost see that the Queen here is like beckoning towards the Page. She's inviting her, and the Page is playfully not challenging, but she's just exploring with her sword. She's moving around, whereas the Queen is in this throne and her sword is straight up and down, and she's got this laser sharp focus. The Queen of Swords has mastered thought. The Queen of Swords has no doubt. She doesn't have the faith and the openness of the Fool because she has been down every road. She has seen so much and thought through so much and communicated so much, and she knows what's true. She knows what to do. She sees through any delusion to the heart of things, and nothing distracts her, nothing causes her to waver. She's clear, and she helps others see clearly, and she helps others think clearly and move past any confusion right to the point of things. And that all began when she was like this Page. And that could happen over the course of our lives, and it could also happen over the course of an hour or a day or a few years in terms of different projects that we're doing, or paths, things that we're studying, projects that we're doing. We go from starting out and experimenting to full understanding. And the last card that we had here from the Modern Witch Tarot deck was the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is set amidst the four corners of the card, which have the fixed signs of the zodiac. The fixed signs are the ones that happen right in the middle of a season, not the beginning of the season, which is cardinal, or the shifting time of the season, which is mutable, but the fixed time is right there in the middle. If it's summer, it's the middle of summer, and so we have Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, and Taurus at the four corners, showing us that there are things that are very steady, that don't change, but that in the middle of that, the wheel of fate just spins, and to a certain degree, we are at the mercy of things we can't control. Just like the Fool is stepping into the complete unknown. Even if we have achieved the mastery of the Queen of Swords, who can guide her thinking and her focus any way she chooses, even the Queen of Swords is subject to the Wheel of Fortune, which spins this way and that, and sometimes we get blessed by things we didn't expect that make life feel beautiful and surprisingly delightful, and other times we get hit with things that are a little bit challenging, or that take us down or bring us back or make it feel hard, but that's just the Wheel of Fortune. And since we know that, it doesn't need to distract us completely from the journey that we're going on, and that journey is from a beginner of an experiment to someone who's learned a lot from it, from someone who is just starting out to share love, to somebody who is enjoying the full spectrum and all of the beauty of love and togetherness. And even though we can't control everything about fate, you can still have an open heart and keep stepping into the unknown over and over and over again. So, let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, you know what else is interesting here to point out is that the Wheel of Fortune is card 10 of the major arcana, and we have the 10 of Cups here. So just like we had, and then we also had the Queen of Swords and the Page of Swords, each have one sword, and then we have these 2 10 swords, and then we have a 2 and a 0. So it's actually kind of funny because a 2 with a 0 after it is 20, and then 10 plus 10 is 20. So it's kind of like also, I think, a very 2020 reading. We're getting towards the end. We're getting towards the last month of 2020. And one of our last power mode, one of our last full moons of 2020. We have another one after this, and then I think we might have one more after this, but so lots of fresh starts coming up. And as we gear up for the full moon, just start reflecting on the things that you have overcome, the things that you love about yourself, things that you're proud of, things that you enjoy and have enjoyed, and keep sharing that with others and ask them about those things about themselves in their own life. What are they proud of about themselves? What have they overcome? What have they enjoyed? And by asking those sorts of questions, we, in every moment, have the possibility, no matter what situation we're in our hearts, to feel this 10 of hearts, a perfectly full, happy heart. Okay, everyone, let's take a deep breath, and then we will say good night until tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. Blessings and love. How do you end this? Instagram. You update too fast for me. I know I'm still here. It was a good ending though, wasn't it? Okay. How do you end the video? Do you just press the X? I think you press the X. Let's see if that works. Okay, take 2. Lots of love.